guys, my name is Kayla and welcome to my channel. Notice anything different about me? You're right, my hair is still kind of a little wet. Yeah, that's it. That's what's different. Oh, you're talking about the blue arrow on my head? No reason. I thought that was going to be really funny, I'm not going to lie to you, and it's so cringe. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the live action adaptation of Avatar The Last Airbender that just was released on Netflix. I know you guys probably thought I was going to react to it, but spoiler alert, I binged the whole season. I'm sorry. I reacted to the first episode and I already uploaded free to Patreon, by the way, if you want to go check it out. It's totally free. You don't need to join Patreon. You can just click the link to my Patreon and you'll find it. It'll be one of the first ones and it's free. So you can just sync up your copy and watch it with me and it'll be really fun. I really enjoyed recording it. I will be editing it into a YouTube video soon. I'm just having trouble finding time to edit it because it's pretty long. But you know that little thing in your head where it's like, you can watch the second episode and then react to it and it'll be fine. As long as you don't watch the whole thing. And I was like, okay. I'm gonna watch the second episode. I couldn't wait, I'm not gonna lie to you. And I was like convincing myself that it's okay to watch the second episode. And then when I blinked my eyes, I had binged all 8 episodes in one sitting until like midnight. And I watched the entire season, okay? So we're gonna talk about it in this video. It's gonna be a full review of the whole season, how I felt about it and what I liked and didn't like. But yeah, let's get into the video. I decided to dress up for this video. This is my Airbender outfit. This shirt is giving very much Airbender, and of course the blue arrow means I'm an airbending master. I've always said that if I had to pick one that I would be in one of the nations, I would pick the Airbenders. I just really love their philosophies and things, and I'm also a vegetarian, so I would fit in. I would have a lot of fun there. But realistically, like I said in my other reaction, I'm white, so I would never be in this world in the first place. But if a family would adopt me and I could choose in which nation to be in, if they were like, there's an Airbender family, there's a Firebender family, there's a Waterbender family, and there's an Airbender family, they all want to adopt you. You need to pick one. I'd be like, Airbender. And yeah, I think Airbenders are underrated. But this show really showed them as well to people who didn't know how powerful they were. I'm glad that they added that in, because they don't show it enough in the main show, and that's a great thing to add. Add good things, you know what I mean? But yeah, so first impressions, I'm just going to say my main thought. I loved it. I really did. I really did. And there has been a lot of like discourse whether it's good or not, and a lot of people have been saying mean things about it. Of course they do. But I really thought they did a really good job with this one, and I was completely happy. I was worried before watching it, don't get me wrong. I wasn't like, it's gonna be perfect. I was really worried because they said they were gonna change a few things, and the things they said they were gonna change, I was pretty worried about, you know, the Sokka sexism thing they were gonna remove. And they said they were gonna remove some of Katara's feminine qualities, which I don't know what the hell that means. What are you trying to say? That being too motherly is bad for some reason? But anyway, that I had a problem with that. But then I watched it. I kept an open mind. I have to pat myself on the back on that because I really felt like I kept an open mind watching this. For the first episode, I do have to admit, I was like skeptical. I was like, I don't know if Sokka and Katara feel like Sokka and Katara yet. I did feel it in the beginning. I was like, I'm gonna have to see how they do this. And also Iroh in the first episode, I was like, he's being a bit serious. But as the show went on, I think they did a great job with all of the characters. All of them feel like the core of themselves. Regardless of plot points changed and some minor changes to their story arcs, I think that the core of the characters is still there, which is good. And I think, to me, the most important thing of the original show is not really the plot points, it's not really what happens in an episode. which, don't get me wrong, I think the original show is perfect and everything that happens in it is perfect, but to me the most important part is how you feel watching the show. To me, the emotional beats of the show is the most important. Not really what happens. The emotional beats is what's important, in especially some of the more low level plot episodes, like episodes where there's not a lot of the main story in the original. The most important thing to me is how you feel watching the show. The emotional depth and dark themes that is in the original, the feeling you get when you watch it. You feel hope and happiness, and you feel despair for freaking genocide in a kids show. And at first I was like hesitant because they said they were going to show the genocide in this, but I do think they handled it well. They didn't make it too much. You know what I mean? I think they towed the line of the balance of the tone of the show very well. I think that dark things were dark and not too much. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Game of Thrones level where I think there's a needless violence. Keep in mind, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. So if I'm totally wrong, I'm totally wrong. That's just what the feeling I've gotten when I see clips of Game of Thrones. And the reason I bring up Game of Thrones is because they said they wanted to appeal to Game of Thrones fans, which is like, what are you talking about? Avatar: The Last Airbender is not anything like Game of Thrones. Nothing. And I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I know it's nothing alike. Especially not the emotional value of Avatar: The Last Airbender, in my opinion. And all of the dark things in the original is handled very well, and I do think they handled it very well in this show as well. They, like I said, they toe the line between the more mature things and the lightheartedness and the charm of the original, which is what I hoped they would keep. Like, keep the charm. I love that you're doing more mature. We've all grown up. You know, it makes a lot of sense. The Avatar fans have grown up, and this makes sense that this version would be more accurate to our age now. And yeah, I love the way they did it. I'm not gonna lie to you. And people who don't like it, I don't really get it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do have some minor things that are nitpicking. It's not important to me at all, and it might be strange for someone like me who's like a crazy fan of the original. Like I said, I see it as a perfect show. I'm not gonna lie to you, and every detail is important to me. But I have, like, just in my mind, I just made it sense to myself that it's not going to be like the original. I think I said this in my reaction to the first episode. When that comes out, you'll see it. But I'm probably going to repeat myself a little in this review. But to me, like, if you realize that the original show, you can never make it again. They'll never be able to remake it perfectly because it's a perfect show. They'll never be able to do that again. You know, they'll never be able to make it again. There's nothing like it, in my opinion. And I love the way they changed it, and I thought that it was good that they made some changes because it's a whole new show. I see it as totally separate. I try to not compare it too much, but of course when they reference things, I'm gonna be like, ah, or like, But I took it in stride. I think I'm pretty proud of myself for being like, it's fine if they change a few things. Because I'm like, I would have thought I would be very obsessed with every detail, but I do think they handled it well. And that's the difference, like, between a good adaptation and a bad adaptation. You can change things, you can remove things, you can add things, but the tone needs to be the same, if that makes sense to you. Like I said, the tone of the original show and the feeling you get watching the show is what we love about it. Like, more than the characters, more than the plot, more than the great moments, the feeling you get watching it. And I'm not talking about nostalgia. I'm talking about you feel happy, you feel sad, you feel destroyed at moments, you feel love and sadness and all of that. And it's an emotional roller coaster, which I think they did well in this version. And let's talk about every episode. I can't remember the titles of the episode, I'm not going to lie to you. I only remember the original titles of the original show. But I do know it was the first one, I think, was Aang. And of course, it's like, introducing Aang, basically, and like the Airbender genocide. I loved Monkey Yatso a lot, and I thought the casting was done well. I loved their relationship. I thought like their friendship chemistry was really well done. You could feel that they were friends. And I think my favorite moment from the first episode was when Aang said, "Can't I just keep pretending to be your friend?" And then Gyatso was like, "You are my friend and you always will be my friend." And that just gave me so much goosebumps, and I just felt so sad that he was going to die. But also it reminded me of one of my favorite lines from the original show. I can't remember the exact wording, so bear with me. But Roku basically tells Aang that friendships can transcend lifetimes because they're so powerful. And Toph asks Aang, "Do you really think friendships can last through different lifetimes?" And they hold hands, and it's really beautiful. And if you watch Legend of Korra, Korra and Toph become friends. And it's beautiful when they bond, and I want to cry thinking about it. Not trying to talk too much about the original, but it gave me that same vibe. And it reminded me that Gyatso is friends with Aang, but he was also friends with Roku, the previous life of Aang, and their friendship did go on to the next lifetime. And it's just so beautiful. Like, he was friends with Aang's spirit for 2 lifetimes, for Roku and Aang. And that just makes me want to cry. But I think they handled their relationship well in this. I was really sad when Aang saw his body. I really liked how they handled the running away scene. In this, he doesn't run away, he just goes to clear his head and think about what they've told him. He's the Avatar and that he needs to leave to train. But in that time, Sozin comes to kill all the airbenders. The comet is there, and damn, I really think Sozin was played well. He was so horrible. I hated him so much. I wanted to go through the screen and like strangle him. But I do think they handled it very well, the whole genocide thing, because I was worried they're going to go too visceral and too dark, and just because I do think there's a problem with media these days, that people treat death and violence and things like genocide way too lightly. They treat it with like violence for violence's sake. I do think a lot of shows these days are so desensitized to real life. Like, these are things that happen. They're still happening right now, actually. War and genocide is happening. And I think people are so desensitized to it these days that, especially because media has made us used to it. And it's really sad that we are like this these days. But I do think they handled it well in this. It's not too much. It's not too dark. And I think as long as they towed the line through the whole show, I would be happy. At the moment I saw that they weren't going to go too much with the dark things, I was happy with it. And speaking of dark, the Spirit World episode, where they go into the Spirit World to save the town from Havai. They don't really show Aang bonding with Havai that much, which was a bit weird, but what I'm trying to get at is Ko. I was terrified. They did a great job with Ko. Like, that was always like one of the scariest things of the original show, Ko. And also they, what's the owl spirit's name? Damn. Wan Shi Tong. Wan Shi Tong was there. He wasn't in the spirit library, which is whatever. Maybe he's going to be in it when they get to the Earth Kingdom again. But, whatever. Regardless, I loved seeing Wan Shi Tong talking to Aang. And I thought whoever did the voice, I don't think it's the same actor who did the original voice, but I really loved the voice for Wan Shi Tong, and I loved that only Aang could talk to him. It was really funny. A good thing to add, because it does make sense that he would be able to talk to a spirit like this, but the others won't. And he was like, "Their tiny minds can't understand me." That was hilarious. Wan Shi Tong has always been a sass master, so that was accurate. And I loved seeing him because I thought they were going to leave it out in this. And then we get to Ko, and Ko has kidnapped the lost people. and he has kidnapped Sokka and Aang as well, Sokka and Katara as well, I mean, and Aang has to save them, and he talks to Ko, and it's terrifying. Terrifying. I audibly was like when the whole mist things, and by the way, I'm really glad they brought back the Mist of Lost Souls, or the Fog of Lost Souls, because it's like in Legend of Korra. If you didn't watch that, if you didn't watch Legend of Korra, please watch it. It's really good. I don't know why people complain that it's not good. It's really good. But yeah, so watch that. But the Fog of Lost Souls is something we learn in that. So I'm glad we saw it in this. They kind of removed the face stealing, show no fear part. He still steals faces, but it's not because they show emotion. It's because he can. Creepy. And because he doesn't have a real face, so he has to like get a face. But the face of Ko was terrifying. The like main face that they always show, it looked like a porcelain doll or like a mask. And my word, I was audibly like, what the fuck? I audibly said that, and especially when his face, like his main face, is on a random person in Sokka's memory and in Katara's memory. They're like worst memories that he's making them relive. I did like that they added something else terrifying. Like, I was like, he's not doing the show no fear thing anymore, but now he has an equally terrifying thing, which is like he eats your soul and traps you in your worst memory before eating your soul. So, equally scary. So I'm okay with the trade-off. It's fine. But he still steals faces, so I'm glad that they should keep that. I'm glad. And also, we get a reference to the Mother of Faces, which I'm very happy about, because if you didn't know, the Mother of Faces is the spirit that can give faces to people, like a new face, but also it gave faces to like everyone in the world, and that's why people have faces. Like, that's the legend or whatever. But in the more realistic sense in the show, it can give you a new face. Realistic, but you know what I mean. A more practical application is that it can give you a new face, and it's the mother of Ko, or she's the mother of Ko. And it's funny that she's like the mother of faces, and Ko doesn't really have a face, so he has to take faces. And she gives faces. I really love that. But anyway, so Roku tells Aang that he took a totem from Ko, and that's why he's like, you took something from me. And it's the Mother of Faces, his like totem, and he just wants it back, and he'll like, if you trade it, you'll get your friends back. Which I think was a good way to resolve that, because there's no way Aang could fight Ko. He's terrifying. So I'm glad they did it that way. And yeah, I was really happy they mentioned the Mother of Faces, because if you didn't know, Zuko's mother actually gets a new face and her memory gets wiped with the Mother of Faces. She gives her a new face, and she asks the Mother of Faces, like, please make me forget that I abandoned my children in the Fire Nation. I don't want to remember that anymore. I'm never going to have a life, and I can't go back. So, and then she gives her a new face as well, and she becomes a whole new person basically. But yeah, so that's what happens to Zuko's mother. If you didn't know, it's something that happens in like a comic, but yeah. So I'm glad they added the Mother of Faces, because hopefully they'll probably then explore that part of Zuko's mother's story, because we never really get Zuko's realization about his mother in the main show. Like, yes, he knows his mother's still alive, but we never see him looking for her or anything. So maybe that could be a fun thing they can explore in like the later part of the show, maybe in the third season or whatever, if they're going to continue it. I really hope they do, because you know Netflix can be like, they always cancel shows when it's good, so I'm worried that they're going to cancel it. But hopefully if they continue, we'll see more of that. And speaking of Zuko, I really loved Zuko in this. I thought he was great. He was perfect as Zuko. He had the whiny teenager part of him, but also the part that just wants to prove to his father that he's a good son and worthy to the throne and all of those things. And I think they handled him well. They didn't try to make him angry for no reason, which is what the bad live action one did. He has a reason to be angry, and I love that they showed that. He's not angry for no reason. And I love the part where they show us his backstory, and Iroh tells the ship people about like he saved their lives, which I think that's a good thing to add. I don't know if that is in the original, maybe I missed it, but obviously I knew he saved that battalion basically. Well, he didn't save it, but obviously I know like the whole backstory is like, no, you can't sacrifice those guys and whatever. But I like that they added that his crew is the people that were gonna die in that whole reason he was exiled. And he got burned for that, and that's the reason he is exiled. And I love that that's his crew. And that was a good reason for them to respect him, not just because of what he went through, but what he did for them and what he cares about. He cares about people, and I really love how they did him in this show. And yeah, I look forward to his character arc. I'm so excited for that. I really loved the moment that they added where him and Aang have like a full conversation. I thought it was really beautiful because, of course, in the original, Aang just tells him like about that he had a friend in the Fire Nation, and if we were alive at the same time, do you think, or back then, do you think we could have been friends? And Zuko's like, yeah. But that does stick with him, which is important. But I love that they added more. He and Aang have a whole conversation, and it really shows that he's thinking, gears in his head, he's starting to move, he's starting to think about these things, and it's good. They planted the seed for his future arc. And I really love Aang in this. I thought they did a great job with his character. He is Aang. You know what I mean? Like, he is Aang. And I was really worried they're gonna like make him too wise and not fun. You know what I mean? Because he is really wise, but he's also fun and a kid, a 12-year-old kid. And I love that they kept that part of him, the fun. And I love the way that he can connect with everyone. And that is a great way to show the power of kindness and compassion and empathy. And I love when he says like, I think you've been hurt enough. And I was like, wow, that was great. But yeah, and I really loved all of the characters, and I loved what they did with Yue as well. They added a bit more to her character, which I didn't think we needed. Like, I wouldn't have expected it, is what I'm trying... No, I do think we needed it, but I wouldn't have expected it, is what I'm trying to say. Like, in the original, of course, she is sacrificing herself for her people, and she's brave and a great leader and a great character. But she doesn't do much, you know? And I love that they added a bit more to her character here. She's a spiritual leader as well, which makes sense since she has a part of the moon spirit in her. It makes a lot of sense that she would be this spiritual type of person. And she is really cool. I really liked her, and I liked what they did with her. I like that they had her and Sokka have something in common. Like, she's like talking about being a leader and how she doesn't always want to be that, but it's her responsibility. And then Sokka also feels the same, and he tells her, and they bond. It's really beautiful. And I love that they added that bit of responsibility in common that they have, and it made their connection more powerful and the loss of Yue more powerful. I really grew on all of the characters, I have to say. Like I said in the beginning, I was like, does it feel like Sokka? Does it feel like Katara? But the moment Sokka was acting like Sokka, I was like, that's Sokka. And the moment Katara gave her first speech of hope, I was like, that's my Katara. We need hope above all. I'm not making fun of her. I love Katara. That's just like, you guys know, that's an inside joke. We always make fun of her for her hope speeches. But yeah, her first speech of hope to Sokka, I was like, that's my Katara. That's my girl. That's my girl. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with all of the characters in this, and I think they did a good job portraying the core of the characters, which is important. And I didn't really miss the sexism arc for Sokka. I thought I would. I thought it was a really important part of his character, and I do think it is in the original, in that world. But in this new version, I didn't really miss it. I thought they handled it well. He had a new struggle. He had to struggle with the fact that his father, he overheard his father say that he wasn't a good leader and shouldn't have people's lives in his hands. Which, imagine hearing that. And I loved that they did that. It's a more mature problem, I would say. And I do appreciate them adding another problem so that it's not like, okay, what does he struggle with now? You know what I mean? And I did worry originally, like how is he gonna bond with Suki? And they did it really well. Suki was a great warrior. I really loved seeing her. She was freaking awesome and beautiful. And her and Sokka really bonded, and I really loved it. And she taught him to fight. I did miss the part where he bows at her feet and asks her to teach him. I did miss that part. I felt like that was a good part that they maybe left out a bit. But I completely forgot to talk about Ozai and Azula. I loved Ozai's performance. I love that the actor added a lot of compassion to Ozai. And I have to say, the moment where the Agni Kai, where he's like gonna roast Zuko for dishonoring him, when the robe falls, I audibly giggled. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did. I was like, ooh. But then I was like, calm yourself, he's about to roast his child's face. You cannot be simping. But I'm sorry, okay? And I also loved Azula. She is already seeming that she's going to be terrifying and cunning, and I love that. Azula is one of my favorite characters in the original show. And I loved when she did lightning bending in the first time in this season. And Ozai just smiled and was like, that's my girl. You're just like daddy. You're just a little monster like daddy. And yeah, so he was very proud of her at that moment, or thought that he could use her. And yeah, I'm excited to see what will come of Azula. I'm excited for it, so yeah. Also, I want to say that Ozai adding like emotion to the character was great. Like, you could really see that the actor understood the motivations for Ozai, and I never thought anyone could add humanity to Ozai. Like, really, I never did. But he did. He showed that Ozai thinks what he's doing is the right thing. He just wants to help Zuko, and he thinks what he's doing is gonna help Zuko become a better leader, a stronger person, a better firebender, I guess, and a better person in the Fire Nation, a prince. But yeah, he thinks he's doing the right thing, and that's what a villain is. They don't think they're doing the wrong thing, and if they do, they think they're doing it for the right reason, so I loved that. I also really loved how Iroh was portrayed. I think the actor did a great job, and he's adorable as Iroh. You can really sense the power and wisdom, but also the lovable guy that we all know. And I love the moment where he is at Liu Tain's funeral and Zuko comes up to him and tells him how great a man Liu Tain was, and that he made him feel brave, and he gave him a medal telling him like, you use this to feel brave. And Zuko tells him like, Liu Tain was the bravest person I knew, and that you could really see that that was the moment Iroh was like, this kid is special and has a kind heart somewhere underneath there. And at that time he was really just a kind person before getting the scar. So I really love how Iroh and him bonded, and obviously like they've always had a connection, but this I think really cemented that he was like, I'm going everywhere with this child, and I'm gonna make sure he gets what he deserves in this life, not this twisted world we live in. And yeah, it was beautiful. I cried a ton, and Leaves from the Vine was playing in the background. I sobbed. So yeah. Realizes the error of his ways and goes to her and like apologizes and asks her to teach him. But in this, he could still have done that and been like, look, you're a powerful warrior and I respect you. I would have liked that bit more of respect there, but I do think they were still equals, which is ultimately what's important in that whole story, is that they learn to be equals, and she teaches him and he learns that she is an amazing warrior, and in the end of the day we still had that in this, so that's fine. And sorry my voice is a bit raspy. It's like I've been sick for a while and now my voice is like all raspy. But anyway, I think they handled that well. And talking of Avatar Kyoshi and like the Kyoshi warriors, Kyoshi being channeled and Aang fighting as Kyoshi was breathtaking and amazing, and I loved seeing her fight in action and not just in a flashback. It was beautiful and amazing. I really loved all of these things that they added, and I loved the ocean spirit taking over Aang and the whole like revenge for the moon spirit. I didn't really get why they added the thing that he would die if he does it, because to me it makes sense that the Aang can fuse with the spirit, because that's literally what the avatar is. It's a person who's fused with a spirit. I can't remember the spirit's name now, but the kite, the white kite, some people call her. But I really loved that scene. It was really good, really well done. And Yue sacrificing herself was very sad. And let me just tell you, they almost killed Momo, and I audibly screamed when I saw him get hit by that boulder. I was like, "You're gonna kill Momo!" I almost started a riot. I'm not gonna lie to you, I almost did. I audibly screeched, and I don't think I've ever done that in any show, especially when I'm sitting by myself and not recording. I was heartbroken and was gonna start a freaking hate post, but Yue saved him, so that's good. And I love the moment where Sokka was like, "Don't scare me like that." It was really cute. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is I really love this show. I don't want to rant on too long. I don't want to make the video too long. But if you still want me to react to the rest of the season, even though I have seen it, tell me, but you probably won't. So go watch the first reaction on my Patreon. I will edit it soon, don't worry. But it's free, so you can watch the whole thing if you want to. But if you don't want to, want the edited version, that's totally fine. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.